for coming back to the next episode here on WJ Chassis Stiffeners. We've got the front plates inside the front wheel wells like we showed you last episode. Now we're working on putting these plates that go in the center frame rails. It's quite an ordeal when you're not working on a hoist. You see that I've got them clamped into place here on the driver's side. Got jacks pushing up to put upward pressure to hold them tight up against the body. And then I've got clamps here to hold the sides in as tight as possible. Here and show you guys a little bit more from some different angles so you can see exactly what all is going on here. Of course, as I've pointed out in previous episodes, mine's bare naked. There's no motor trains, transfer case, anything in the way, cross members. So those parts of the process you are not going to be getting on this video. As far as putting the plates on themselves, that's something we can discuss once you've got everything torn apart, excuse me, and down to that point. That's where we're at. So gives you an idea here with this scan. She kind of shows you where they attach and where they go on, and the places where you're going to have to take paint off. That's all stuff you'll figure out yourself when you're doing this. One thing to discuss, we have several different brands of these plates. I'm using DB Metalworks, and a lot has been left to be desired with these. There's a lot of holes that don't line up quite right, a lot of holes that aren't large enough. And I know that I've watched a couple other videos on YouTube where they're using different brand plates, and they seem to fit a lot better. So just food for thought in most things in auto parts. Alright, so while that's getting burned in, we're gonna step back here and do the prep for the last pieces of the chassis stiffening kit. Those are these rails right here. Pretty flat and pretty basic. Those are gonna go right up in here inside the rear wheel well. There's gonna be some material we gotta remove on this spring perch. And also we've got where the charcoal canister would go. We've got a couple studs that stick out of the body. You folks that are keeping the charcoal canister, you guys might want to drill some holes because there are no provisions on the plates for these. It's really hard to see on the camera here because everything's so dull. It's got some little sheet metal flaps here. I don't quite know what this is all about, but that's going to get deleted. There's another little flap right there. We're gonna make that flush, make that disappear. And then one big thing we've got to do here is remove these gussets for the spring purchase. I already did this on the other side, but if you look real closely, you can see there's a couple spot welds here. Underneath this textured paint here, there's a couple more. On the other side, I was able to drill that out and grind. I just cut off the bottom of the plate here with a death wheel and was able to drill those spot welds out and get this to come off. This portion here, I just ground that flat with a grinder disc and everything went pretty good. So we're gonna get at it here. Let's remove some material. Let's get this all prepped and ready to rip. Another safety thing I want to mention, because we've already had a fire and a couple small little brush fires, if you will, is you're going to be working around the gas tank down here. My gas tank's removed. There's no fuel system or fuel lines or anything in the vehicle at this moment, so I'm pretty safe. But you really got to keep in mind what you're working with here. Just even having the sparks, the grinding, and everything around where the fuel filler net goes here, you are playing with fire, quite literally. You got to use every precaution and everything you can think of that you're comfortable with to make sure that you're safe, because I'm not the best example here. And again, in my case, none of that exists on the vehicle at this moment, so I don't have to work around it. But for you, be careful, please. Have a fire extinguisher handy, have somebody around to help you out in case something goes sideways. Just be safe. Be careful, take your time. Don't ruin your whole vehicle or burn down your barn or garage or house or anything because you're in a big hurry. The welder welds at a temperature that's beyond what you can imagine. Heat transfers through things, even though the gas tank might be over there. There's fumes. Some of it's open to the atmosphere. If your charcoal canister is anything like most of these WJs are, it's probably cracked, it's probably leaking. All it takes is some heat, spark, flame, whatever, and things turn tragic real quickly. So just be careful, use your common sense, and take your time. Anyways, let's get at this thing. Well, we've got it all burned in, everything's all done. Here's the finished product. Let's start out looking at the rear wheel wells there. See the gusset plates going over top the spring perches. One thing we did was cut the corners out here and here, so anything that comes in that hole, you know, hopefully for the most part will drain out of there. I've got everything welded around the bung there for the upper shock mount bolt. All the seams all welded up and everything, and all the plug welds done. So I think we're looking pretty good. Let's get up underneath here and show you what we're looking at on the frame rail stuff. Not the most beautiful welds, but functional, and really we weren't doing it for looks. It's all about function. So there you go. You can see the finished grinding in a couple spots I've got to do to get the lower control arm mounts put on for my rough country kit. Other than that, I think we're looking pretty good. See where they go all the way up to the front there. It's hard laying down here on the ground to show it all to you, but again, I think we're in pretty good shape here. So I'm gonna POR 50 everything when we're all said and done. Got to get this all cleaned up. There's a prep process for the POR 50, and get her all sealed up and looking pretty and move on. This was a lot of work getting this done here.